Hi, I'm Derek Harris. I'm the associate pastor at Lyndon Baptist Church, and a lot of my duties involve music. So I plan the music for the worship services, and I lead the choir, and any special events that we do with music around the church. That's kind of my job. And I got to know Dr. Johann Kim very well while I was a student at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville. He was one of my music professors, and I had a really good time in his classes and getting to know him. And then he told me that he had this praise festival, and on all of our syllabi in our classes he would always put a link to his website. And so I went and I looked at his website, and it was very, very interesting to see how he was using his compositional skills and using his musical skills to really share the gospel very specifically with children around the world. I know that Johann has a heart to share the gospel with everyone, but it seems like he's been given a special purpose to really share it with children and their families. And so when he told me that he had this vision for the 60-20-20, this idea that 60 churches would host his praise festival by the year 2020, I was even more excited about that. And he asked me if I could help be a coordinator. And so today I'm talking to you as someone who has actually helped to oversee and to coordinate one of these praise festivals in Louisville, Kentucky. So one thing that made it very successful, and I think was one of the most important parts, was that we were able to find Christian music teachers that could help and who could not only explain the vision as Christian people to their students and to the parents, but who already had a large number of students that they knew and who trusted them, and who they could give another opportunity not only to play music, but an opportunity to meet church people, to meet Christians, and to see how they live and to see how they love and what their lives are like. And so many of my students, I'm also an instructor, many of my students didn't go to church. They had not had any church connections. They don't have family that go to church. And so some of them, their first real experience in a church ended up being through this praise festival that we put on at Lyndon Baptist Church. And so as the first church that had done this in Louisville, it was quite an undertaking to think, well, what all do we have to prepare? What all do we have to do? But Johann had already done a similar festival in several cities in the world, but just not under the 60-20 vision. And so we were able to take a lot of those ideas and put them into practice, and between having the competition and the recital days, it all went very smoothly. Well, if your church is interested in being a part of this praise festival in the coming years, there's a lot of things that you need to think about, but we have a process that we went through that you all could go through that made it actually very easy to do this, to put this on, and to have a successful event. The first thing is that it takes a lot of prayer. So we had prayer meetings between me and Johann, between Pastor Jim at Lyndon, the pastors at Vine Street Baptist that helped us. We had prayer meetings with the music instructors that we were going to be talking to find students, and we asked the parents to pray. We had prayer meetings for the parents. There was prayer everywhere around and during and after this event. And so prayer is going to be a very important part. We have to ask God to help us to do these things, because as people we often mess things up, but God can take anything and can make it great. And so after we had prayer meetings and prayer meetings and prayer meetings, we started to contact music teachers first. And so we had our churches ready. We knew what churches were going to be involved, but we didn't know where the students would come from. My church at Lyndon Baptist, we don't have a very large children's ministry. We only have a handful of children in our church. And so if we were going to host this event, we were going to have to reach a lot of children that weren't a part of our church. And so that's where we contacted the Christian music instructors that were in our town, and we started to ask them if any of their students would be involved. So we gave them brochures, we gave them DVDs, we even gave them music that the students could play, so then they could take that, show that to the parents, show that to the students, and tell them that this would be a fun and worthwhile event. We see in the Bible that people are always playing music. In the Psalms, we get all these examples that people should play cymbals and timbrels and lyres, and there's no reason that we shouldn't think that people should also be playing pianos and trumpets and guitars and flutes and all these different instruments to praise the Lord. And we see people singing songs, we see people writing hymns, and so it's been great that we've had Johann's music as a resource as music instructors, because it's well-written, artistic music that we can give straight to our students and they can play it. It's written for kids to play. And so some of it's very difficult and it takes them a long time to learn. But as a music instructor, I can tell you that sometimes that's a really good thing, because once they learn these pieces and they see that they can play beautifully too, it gets them excited. And then even after the event's over, they're just better students anyway, just from participating in this event and being told that everything that they do, they should do it as if they're doing it for the Lord. So they should give their best, they should give more than 100%, they should give their 110%, because everything they do is for God. So after praying and seeking out music teachers and trying to get them to bring their students to participate in this event, we had a meeting for the parents, an informational meeting to let them know, because a lot of them had never heard of any kind of event like this, and they didn't know what does a praise festival look like, and why is there a competition day and a festival day? Do they only get to participate in the festival if they win the competition, or do they get to participate anyway? And they had all these questions, and so we had one day where we invited them all to come out to Lyndon, and they got to see the church and see where it was going to be, and we were able to kind of present to them a little bit better than what their music instructors could, of what the festival was going to look like and what they could do as parents to prepare their kids for the event. And so we answered all those questions, we showed them DVDs, we gave them the brochures, and we had prayer with them and just let them know that we loved them and we were excited that they were going to be a part of this event. And so parents, one important thing that parents can do as they're preparing their children for the event is to start to worship God with their children at home. That's one of the greatest things they can do. Even through piano practice, they can write the words to these hymns in, they can sing the songs with their children, they can explain some of these concepts that don't seem to make a lot of sense at first. A lot of the hymns even that Johann has put in his volumes of music that he's written, the words don't always make sense right away to a kid. And it also helps the parents, I think, to think through what are these hymns that they've been singing, some of them, all their lives, what do they really mean? And what are these poets and these musicians trying to explain through art and through such beautiful music to explain these concepts about God? And so the children start to learn that if music can be about God, what else in their lives can be about God? What else can they use to not just be things for themselves, but to be outlets for them to tell people about the Lord and to tell people about the relationship with Jesus that they have? And they find that through doing this praise festival, maybe that even on their sports teams, or maybe even when they do play video games, or when they're out with their friends, that everything they do and everything they are can be an important part of their walk with God. And so I hope that as you all think about being a part of this event, you see that when you go through these little steps like that, you pray, you meet with music instructors, you meet with their parents, and everyone has an idea of exactly what it looks like, then it's not hard to have a day where they can come and we call it a competition day, but really it's just a day for them to be evaluated and for us to give them some ideas of how they could play even better and even more beautifully, and it gives them a chance to just have one more opportunity to play and to meet each other before the actual event. And so on that competition day, when they come in, we didn't make it this really formal type of competition. The kids were able to wear their street clothes and to come in and tell us a little bit about themselves, and they got to hang out with each other while they practiced and show each other their songs before they ever had to play in front of one of our judges. And then after doing that event, it was very easy for them to come and play at the Praise Festival in front of kids they already knew, in front of parents they had already met, in front of judges that they'd already talked to, and to know that the whole reason they did it was not to just show how good they are, but to show that when you do things for God, you do them the very best that you can. And so we hope that as a church, as you put on this Praise Festival, that you take that same idea, that when you're going to do the Praise Festival, that you try to do it the very best you can and make it the best event that you can make it for God, so that you have an opportunity to share with children and to share with their families in your community through the gift of music that God's given us, and to tell them a little bit more about Jesus and give them more opportunities to meet other Christians, maybe if they're not a Christian, to meet some Christians and to see what this can be like, to be followers of Jesus and to be people of God. A very important resource to you as a church that will be participating in this event is going to be newpraise.org. So this website that the New Praise Foundation has put in place has lots of free music scores that children can use, and they're already there, they're already ready, they're hymn arrangements, and that's really what we hope that children will play, is hymn arrangements. Now, we do know that the scriptures say to sing a new song to the Lord, but these arrangements of these old hymns are a really great resource and a really good opportunity for parents and the kids to learn more about God and to be better committed through learning these songs. And so Johan has scores that he's written, and those are at newpraise.org, and there's hundreds of them, and they're for everything from violin to flute to piano, and those are almost all, everything there is going to be free for you, and that's a great opportunity for you all to get some music. Now, any music will do as long as it is an arrangement of a hymn, some kind of sacred music. That's fine for the competition. Any composer you can find who has written sacred music, arrangements of hymns, that will be great. But this music is already there, and it's there for your disposal and for you to use. And so we hope that you all will check that out and use some of those scores with the students who will be participating in the event. And so I thank you for listening, and I hope that as you're praying about being a part of this event, you see that it's a very possible and an easy event to put on when you take it step by step. Thank you.